What is up, pizzas? This is Corey Vincent here with Energy Esports as well as the San Francisco Overwatch team. And we hope you guys enjoyed our announcement last week. I know worked on it very hard. We're very excited about the roster. And so we wanted to do a little bit extra, which is this podcast-esque interview Q&A with questions brought to us from you, Reddit community, as well as Twitter. Joining me is the architect, the guy who put the team together, Coach Brad. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Really good. It's an honor, pleasure to finally talk to you. You're highly regarded in the Overwatch community, all over the Reddit. I just see people singing your praises. Give everyone a little bit of history on your background.
Okay. Well, I first started gaming in 1994 with a game called Command and Conquer. That was like when I was 14 years old, I want to say. And I've been like a professional or semi-professional, mostly semi-professional in like, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 games in like the 2 decades since then. So esports has been my whole life. And then about a year and a half ago, I started up Selfless. I was getting a little too old to keep playing at like even like a semi-professional level. I kind of started to fall off, So I still wanted to be in esports though. So I started up Selfless Gaming, and one of the things we had was an Overwatch team. And yeah, I think most people know the story of Selfless, but the initial people on Selfless were, for the most part, like former teammates of mine and former friends. And then eventually it grew into something more as we just tried to improve and get better and better and better because, hey, that's what you're supposed to do, right? That's the fun, is to win. So, we kept pushing it, and eventually I ended up here.
You hit me in the fields with the Command and Conquer because that was a fucking good game, man. I played two mostly.
And then, okay, yeah, I played the original, which I was obsessed with, and I actually I was like 14, and I asked my dad, like, "Hey, Dad, can I do like a $200 tournament on this stupid?" It was the Total Entertainment Network. It was like really old. You connected with like a 56K modem, and later on I went to like my first tournament for Red Alert, which was the sequel, which maybe is what you played, or maybe you played like even later iterations than that. Like this was like 1998, so this was like kind of the birth of esports, I'd say.
It was Command and Conquer 2, and then I played a lot of Yuri's Revenge.
Okay, yeah, that came all that came a little later.
Yeah,
I'm really old, so
Also joining us here on this little show, we have he is the support player for the San Francisco Overwatch team. Dhak, how you doing, man?
Hello, how you doing? I'm doing great. I'm loving the announcements and the news and the Reddit posts and all that good jazz.
How was it for you? Because you were on the team, I think, quite a while. I don't know the exact ins and outs, but I think I remember you were one of the first names I heard thrown around. So I think you had to keep it secret for quite a long time. What was it like dealing with that pressure and all the hype?
Well, it wasn't like that much pressure on me. It was like mostly who's gonna leak it. Just like I'm not gonna leak it myself, but we had some funny moments with like Harblu, and there was like a literally IRL mockcast where he like basically spoiled that was at the Vegas house in the middle of a run game. I'm like just sitting there looking at mockcast,
And then joining us, I don't even know what the hell your role's going to be because there's so many damn DPS on the team, but you're one of the 4 DPS powerhouses. BabyBay joins us. How you doing, man?
I'm feeling great, man. I'm happy to be representing San Fran.
So, I didn't know a whole lot about you, I'm going to be completely honest. Like, where'd you come from, and how'd you get onto the San Francisco team?
So I first got into gaming when I was like 7. I played Xbox, played a lot of Halo. That like stuck with me. I played at a competitive level. I was going to like MLG events when I was like a little kid. My parents would come with me and everything. I eventually found my PC, I don't know, around like 11 years old, 12 years old, to play this game called Crossfire, and that's where I'm from, before Overwatch. I went to about 5 international LANs for it, all majors. It was pretty sick. And then once I transferred to this game, I was like, dude, this game is sick. I'm going to play it. I'm going to become a pro. I'm going to grind it. And here I am. I made it to an Overwatch League team. Feel great.
Awesome. And so we got these two killers, and we have a bunch of other young talent. You guys have seen the announcement video. We got Sinatra, Super, all the boys. I just wanted to go to Brad real quick and go straight to you and say, the biggest thing people are talking about, they can't wrap their minds around why there's 4 like DPS hit scan superstars. And what was the thought process? Why did we go that route?
Yeah, and in my mind, there's actually 5. Believe it or not, because I think Super, even though he's not traditionally thought of as a DPS player, I mean, Super, and you can ask Dhak and you can ask BabyBay about this, but Super is probably like the Tavik of North America. The kid can play literally anything, like any hero. I've seen him pop off in supports, main tanks, off tanks, Tracer, Pharah, Soldier. Maybe his Genji's a little weak. That's the one where I like question it a little bit. But I mean, he's just like insane. You know what I mean? And I think in general, we've seen Sinatra play Zarya. I don't know if anyone's seen BabyBay play Zarya, but it's really good. Dante can play Zarya. Dante can play Hog, believe it or not, even though he never does. When he does in scrims, he pops off. Super can play Hog. Diva, Super does some of the most insane things on the old Diva that I've ever seen. Super's actually one of the best Divas in North America, and people don't know this. People just because he played main tank, you know what I mean? But he's really incredible at the old Diva. And at the new Diva, which is more DPS oriented, BabyBay's lately been fragging out on that. I think what I did more than anything else is I kind of do have this sort of philosophy or this like view of the game that says that like star DPS players are probably the most talented players in the game overall, and that they are actually more flexible than people expect them to be. It's just they put themselves in the carry position because that's where they think they can win games from. But if you have a DPS player who is not completely selfish and is trying to win for the team, I have seen DPS players sort of expand their hero pools like a lot, especially like in the last like 5 months. It's just been insane. When people first installed the game, they're like, oh, how do I become a pro? I'm going to like one trick this hero and become known for it, right? So Sinatra played Tracer, BabyBay played Soldier, you know what I mean? So on and so forth. But once you get to a certain point, once you've got like, 300-400 hours on the hero, you start to hit like real diminishing returns, you know what I mean, on just like getting better and better at that hero. So it makes sense to start to slowly expand your hero pools. And like most people today, most like pro players can play 2, 3, sometimes even 4 heroes at a very, very high level. And off tanks are usually easier to master than most, except for Diva, which is obviously more of like there's a mentality to Diva that not everyone's made for, right? Like I would never ask Sinatra or even BabyBay to play old Diva, right? But Super, who's got more of like a supportive mindset, to his style of play, he absolutely can. You know what I mean? And so I look at sort of like I look at players as being able to learn a lot of heroes, and then I kind of look at like, okay, are they actually a support player? Do they play for the team, like Sleepy does, like Dhak does, like Super does? Or are they like I don't want to say selfish, but are they like somebody who's like bloodthirsty, right? Who really has to be on DPS or has to be on like a damage dealing hero because it's not in their nature, you know what I mean, to just like heal up all the time or to play very supportive. You got people who want to pass the ball and you got people who want to take the shot.
Well, and to go into like the mental aspect of that, like there's a thing called individualistic. And I think it's not because they want to be selfish or hog the glory, but they genuinely believe that if the ball's in their hands, they're going to take the team to victory. Like they want a spot at the table because they generally want to do the best thing for the team. BabyBay, with these murderers, you got IDDQD up in there too. We haven't even talked about, and these crazy hit scans. You're a young guy. What's the atmosphere like in the team? Is there like a feeling like you guys are constantly trying to one up each other? Are you guys fragging out on each other and in practice every once in a while too, or how do you guys manage the bravado?
I think for the most part we all get along. We haven't had to compete against each other yet for who's going to get the starting spot, so maybe it'll be like more hostility towards there, but I don't know. I mean, like the environment's fine when we're playing. I'm kind of like a shot calling like leader type, and Dhak helps me out a lot. He also calls. So I don't know. I mean, everybody really enjoys playing with each other. We don't really have any problems with each other. We can all flex to like different characters. So like sometimes IDDQD will be on Soldier and I'll be on like Genji or something. It's not a big deal. Like we can play anything. So we're never fighting to play something. It's just what we feel in the moment.
Dak, I mean, you've been around the block. You've been on a lot of teams. Looking at these guys, how does this team's like composition? These are all younger guys. How is it for you to kind of like keep them in line and keep them in check, so to speak?
I don't want to keep anyone in line. I want them to go. I want them to go free. I wanted to frag out. That's what I wanted to do. BabyBay helps a lot because he's not only he can play, but he has like he has the leadership, right? He likes he likes calling the shots, and when you have a hitscan player that has that ability, it's like extremely helpful because what you want to do most of the time is fight within his line of sight, So it's just one of the things where like when we play with Super is just insane. The confidence that he has when he plays games, I just don't want to ruin it all, I just let the guy do whatever he wants, But and then the way you develop synergy and strategy is you just play with your teammates a lot and you realize their tendencies. Oh, Super always does that. So then how can I help him? Maybe when he does that, I'll do this, and that's how you become better and develop strategies, which is what I like really enjoy about the game.
Brad, I don't know whether they're fans or just haters, but people are they're so concerned with who's playing Pharah. I mean, and I know we got a ways to go before Overwatch League, but everyone wants to know who's the Pharah player at this moment. Who's playing Pharah?
Sure. Well, in scrims mostly it is Super, but of course Super is not eligible on day one. He's going to miss about 1/3 of the season. And in the absence of Super, it has typically been BabyBay, actually. BabyBay actually played Pharah a couple seasons ago a lot, and he's more experienced in the hero than people would think. And, of course, you normally run Pharah with like a Tracer as opposed to a Soldier, which is, IDDQD is a pretty good Tracer when he's popping off. So it's a good synergy there, actually. It's not that bad, as people would assume. That said, we are 100% going to be adding one more person to the roster. We are not stopping at 8. We are going to be stopping at 9 or 10. So there is still room to pick up a projectile player. We are definitely considering that among other options as well. And we've got a month to figure that out still. So, people shouldn't overreact. I cannot oversell enough Super's ability on Pharah. Like, he is nuts on Pharah. He's one of the best in North America by far. And I think it harkens back to his TF2 experience. You know what I mean? We played a similar role. So I am not worried about it in the long run at all. And really, we built this team for the long run. You know what I mean? Like, I made sure to sort of, for the most part, among the new talent that we brought in, I wanted people that are still doing things where it's like, this is even better than what he did last week or the week before. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see a trend up. I want to see improvement. I don't want to see people that are plateaued or falling off. So we hired a lot of young guys, you know what I mean? And a lot of sort of rising stars because we're really thinking not just like for the first 2 splits, you know what I mean? Which is what everyone seems to be focused on. We're thinking, okay, next July in the finals, you know what I mean? In the playoffs, who's going to be where they need to be by then? You know what I mean? The inexperience is not a big deal to me because we've got 6 months of matches ahead of us and scrims before that as well in the preseason and everything. Then we've got the following year and the year after that, you know what I mean? So I'm really sort of taking like the wider view, you know what I mean? And building for the future.
Awesome, man. I think that should answer it. So, quit asking, everyone. Okay, so this is a question for the players. We'll start off with BabyBay. I just want to know, people want to know, what was the tryout process like to get a part of the San Francisco Overwatch team?
So I was one of the later tryouts. I came in like past everybody else. I think I was like almost the last one to try out. But I just showed up for scrims and we scrimmed another team. We didn't do any in-houses when I was there. I know that previously the teams did in-houses against each other. So we scrimmed against like teams like FaZe, I don't know, like Envision, Maybe Envious, I think we scrimmed against once for tryouts. And pretty much just, I think Brad chose the players that stood out to him in terms of like comms and skill, like mechanical skill. So, I mean, I comm really well. I'm pretty alpha, and he was looking for that role, and I got it, you know?
All right, Dak, same question. What was it like? What was your trial process like?
So my trial process was longer just because like I did the original trial with Simus on as a coach, and I did like two weeks of trial, and then I had to go to the World Cup stop. But it was good because I got to play all that time with Sleepy, and we eventually picked up Sleepy. So it was great because like I played so much with them that I developed a lot of synergy with Sleepy, and I think I love his Zenyatta. Like I think it's the best Zenyatta I've seen like in the game. So like as a support player, especially as a Lucio player, it's like really important to know what your Zenyatta likes to do, so you can like help him effectively, survive and deal damage. So it was like a very fun experience. After they started like playing around with Brad on like as a trial, because he brought in so many more players that I had never like played with in a serious setting. So it's like really fun to all these players you meet in ranked games or in against other teams that you never play with like in a team. So you get to see how they come and how they react to losing or winning. We scramble teams around. It was just like a really fun experience for me. It was great.
Brad, so yeah, that brings up a good thing. What was the criteria? I mean, we did trial a lot of different players from a lot of different backgrounds. So what were the most important keys to you? And I want to address something. I usually don't like to address stuff like this, but XQC says that in this case, he said we chose downgrades. So what do you think about that?
I mean, well, okay. We'll start with the XQC. I think XQC is awesome. I love XQC.
He's hilarious.
I'm like a sub.
We love his
so
stream.
yeah. But I guess he's probably thinking main tank. You know what I mean? If he's thinking of himself, because he did try out, and we gave him a try out, and he did great. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like it when people say like XQC can't be a pro, because he won an Alienware Monthly Melee, which is actually more than Selfless did. You know what I mean? Like, it's insane the level of disrespect sometimes that XQC gets. You know what I mean? And I think it's because of his antics. But I don't think we chose downgrades. I think we chose people that confuse people, because they think historically, and they think in terms of like who's historically been at hero X, Y, or Z. But I am starting to see, in scrims and in matches, the rise of sort of like a very diverse counter-picking meta. And don't get me wrong, there's still stronger comps that always show up. You know what I mean? But I really, really wanted a team that could play everything from quad DPS to quad tank to triple flanker to Pharah, you know what I mean, to everything in between. Like literally any composition you can think of. And I want these guys to be able to switch to these compositions mid-map. So, they run into something on first point and they got to quickly run back to spawn and make an adjustment. I want them to be able to make that adjustment. Triple flanker is something that most teams can't run, because most teams' diva players can't really perform on Tracer, Genji, or Sombra. You know what I mean? And they can't run a defense that's focused on like stalling the cart and just whatever without throwing diva into the mix, which diva is no longer really good in that role. You know what I mean? So I don't want to try to predict what the meta is going to be 6 months from now. And so I made sure to pick people that I thought were good at flexing. You know what I mean? Like, people are actually, trashing on the flexibility of our heroes, but actually I think it's the opposite. Like, guys like Super, guys like Sinatra, and now even BabyBay, like, are Dante. I mean, Dante literally played nothing but flex tank up until last season, where he finally started to play DPS. And this is like his first FPS game. Like, he played Minecraft. You know what I mean? Like, the level of growth that Dante is showing in such a short time is insane. He's grinding out the game and he's improving every single day. Like, I think it bothers me when people think that the players that we picked up can't learn new heroes, that they can't perform on new heroes. We've got a lot of time and a lot of Overwatch ahead of us. We're going to be able to do whatever's required of the game, which I think if you were to go pick up like a one-trick diva player or something like that for that off-tank slot, I don't have the same level of confidence that they can go triple DPS and frag out. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm looking for everything. You know what I mean? Especially on those like flex rolls, which is what everyone seems to have a problem with. But that was actually one of the things I paid the most attention to. I just looked at it from a different perspective. Most people think in terms of 2-2-2. You know what I mean? Or triple tank. They don't really think in terms of triple DPS, triple flanker, and all these other variations. Quad tank, quad DPS. This stuff never comes up. But it does come up in scrims right now.
It was a pretty good question on Reddit, and we'll share this one. Do you think that there's a thing as too much flexibility and that the team could fall into like role chaos? And how do you prevent something like that from happening?
Yeah, I mean, I saw that question on Reddit, and one of the ones that the person referenced was like Misfits, right? And so, I mean, like, you can look at Misfits, you can look at the old Misfits before they picked up Logix, and you could say, like, you have Tavik, who's one of the best flex players in the world, maybe the best flex player in the West, and he's stuck playing Tracer all day. You know what I mean? Which is like what happened to Misfits during their huge slump that they had. We have Sinatra, and we actually have a lot of great Tracer players on the team, and so I think the issue is sometimes like can there be chaos? Yes. But I think also just the direction that the game has been going, the flexibility is more worthwhile than sort of the chaos of changing roles. It's more about, as a team, do we understand how we're playing as a team, like when we have this composition and they have that composition, and the map geography is this, you know what I mean? Like, are we deathballing? Are we peeling? Are we trying to engage on their backline? You know what I mean? Like, all of these things come up. It's like, so long as the team has the right collective idea of how we're playing as a unit, I'm not too worried about them hitting their shots, so to speak. And so, there will be, like, long term, does somebody like, say, Parblue, you know what I mean? Like, who, was formerly a part of our squad, does he have more sort of like a better rhythm for Roadhog than anybody else on our team? Yes, he does, like, without a doubt. You know what I mean? But do I think that, like, in a given meta, if we have somebody like Super, you know what I mean, who is basically our Roadhog guy, and maybe one other guy on the team is a Roadhog guy, and we're playing scrims every single day and matches every single week, will they get like 90% of the rhythm that they need in order to perform in the match so that we can play the composition we want to play? Yes, I do. You know what I mean? And so I just trust these guys. Everyone that we've recruited has like a proven history of learning new heroes and doing well on them. And so long as they've demonstrated that to me, that made them eligible to be picked up, and that's what we did.
So in the roles, we have like one main healer here. He's joining us right now, but athletes get sick or injured or whatever. So are we ready in that scenario? Like are we looking at backups for some of these key support roles?
Well, I hate to keep bringing up Super, but Super has a Lucio. Super has a, believe it or not, a Lucio Tracer ult account on ladder that hit top 20 last season. He had a 70% win rate on Lucio. Super is one of the best Lucios in the game. And also other people on this team play Lucio. BabyBay, don't you play Lucio sometimes?
Yeah,
dude. You do.
Played it the other day, dude. Popped off.
I don't know who on our team can play Lucio. It's a bigger list than you would think. Yeah. So I'm not too worried about it. No, I mean, if something happens, we have people that are talented enough to pick it up, and people that actually have experience already. Like, Super is insane. Super is the backup for literally every position on the team. I'm not kidding. If something happens to any one of these guys, Super can fill in.
So we'll go back to Dhak for this question. I mean, everyone knows that this is a team of killers and superstars, but like, what are things like behind the scenes? Like, are you guys friends? Are you guys getting along? What's it like just as a player and coexisting with these other guys?
Yeah, no, it's actually crazy how like good friends they are. Like, I didn't know Sleepy was like super friends with like Dante and like Sinatra. Like, I had no idea, right? I knew Sinatra was like really good friends with like Hydration, but it turns out he's like really good friends with like Dante and Sleepy too. So the environment is like really good. BabyBay and I have been hanging out together a lot since he moved here. We've been going to the gym. We might go out to now. It's like there's like a really good environment with that AKD too. Like we go out to eat all the time. We hang out all the time. So it's so outside the game, it's like really good. And in the game, it's just fun. We're just like trying out strats. We're trying out heroes. We're trying out team composition. We're just having a good time when we're screaming. Because like we're not too worried. We've been screaming a lot of like the all packs to help teams that are preparing for contenders. So we don't take it too seriously there. It's like this is not what the game really is right now. So let's just have a good time here, and we try our best to like improve on stuff. But for the most part, it's just like a really good time when we play together.
We'll go around the board on this one. We don't have to go super in depth on this question, but I'm generally kind of curious. Looking at the landscape of Overwatch League and the different cities and the different players we know are on different teams, who do you think San Francisco's major rival is going to be, BabyBay?
No leaks though, right? No leaks?
No leaks.
I would have to say it's either going to be, I think just for like history, just maybe Immortals. They've always been like a huge or wait, what is Immortals' name? Oh, they don't have a name, right?
Yeah.
So the first LA spot. Yeah. Okay. So whatever, the first LA spot, we'll call them. I think that they will be a rival just because they've always been my rival in history. Because like the land that I went to for Overwatch, I ended up losing to them, and I know that San Fran has got some beef with them over who's going to be the better Cali spot. And then I think as well, like just the Cali spot, I think that's going to be the major rival that we're going to have, like the Cali spots, because there's two of them. I think both of those are going to be our rivals.
There's three, yeah.
Oh, there's three. Oh, there's three LA.
Oh yeah, there's two in LA, and then there's us in San Francisco.
There's us,
right?
Yeah. That's what I mean. So there's three.
So
for Cali.
who's repping West Coast? You know
exactly.
what I mean?
I think that's gonna be what it is. That's gonna be the rivalry. In terms of like competition and like who I think is gonna give us like the hardest time, I would probably say it's gonna be like a team like Kongdu Panthera, maybe Lunatic High, like like that, like the really top teams that are dangerous in the world, envious even.
What do you think, Dhak? Who's the rival?
Yeah, I agree completely. But yeah, my rival is the Seoul team. That's my rival, or Kongdu, I guess, London team. But like the top Korean team is the one I have my eye on right now.
Brad, everyone just assumes that Korea is going to roll. Everybody, and I guess in history it has been that way. But what do you think? And how's Overwatch League going to be different?
Well, we talk about this all the time, but you're roughly as good as the practice that you get. And so, I mean, Europe looked like a weak region for a while there because, hey, the scene was like struggling and the practice was bad. And, NA, it's been a little bit, historically speaking, you know what I mean? Like sort of like earlier this year was doing a little bit better, I think, because Rogue came over, Envious was over here. Some of the talent from Europe was over here. So NA practice was pretty good. We actually had tournaments to play for, whereas Europe had like none. You know what I mean? And then I think you've got Korea, you know what I mean, which actually has the only real tournament in Overwatch so far to date, Apex. And, a lot of tryharding over there, a lot of good practice, a lot of good scrims. And I think, that's how historically they rose to the top is they, teams push each other to the limits, push each other to improve. You know what I mean? And I think once everybody gets in LA, I think the teams in the West will find a way to catch up. Mechanically, I don't think it's an issue. You know what I mean? Well, like when I put Carpe back on a plane back to Korea, when he left the Selfless House, I sort of asked him for like his final thoughts. And he thought that mechanically the West was just as good as Korea and that it was more of like a teamwork, try hard kind of a thing. And I agree with that. I agree with Carpe with what he said. You know what I mean? Like that's the vibe I've always gotten as well. And so I'm so excited to get us like in LA and we can all practice each other on low paying, super serious. Everyone's tryharding. Everyone's got support staff, resources, all that stuff. It's all full time. No one's got side jobs. You know what I mean? It's going to be sick. And then, I guess in terms of a rival, I guess to me, the biggest one heading into it would probably be the London spot, right? Like, I think they're the team that I'm the most, I expect them to come out of the gates like the strongest, I'd say.
All right, and then a couple last questions. We talked about this a little bit, but, two of our big players are not going to be available till about March, I think, which is about a third into the season. What's the plan to, introduce those guys into the rotation? Is it just going to be a rough throwing them in there and seeing what happens, or are you worried about that at all?
Well, I mean, I think Sinatra is fairly self-evident in where he'll be playing. You know what I mean? Who's going to come in as a DPS player, on the flanker role, Tracer, Genji, and then occasionally flexing to Zarya, because obviously he has a great Zarya, you know what I mean, like when they run triple tank meta and stuff like that. And I think he'll be, very likely to start. He's kind of our star player. We paid a lot of money for him, as everyone knows. So, he's the guy that's supposed to go in there and frag out. I don't see a lot of scenarios with Sinatra sitting on the bench, unless he's just feeling burnt out or something like that. Or I guess if Tracer completely fell out of meta, I could say, there are certain players that might excel more in other roles. You know what I mean? It kind of depends on the meta. But Tracer's been meta since day one, right? So assuming that that's the case, Sinatra is likely to be in there. With Super, I think it's going to be more along the lines of, like, we're going to try to give him an idea of where he's going to be playing. And very likely at this rate, you know what I mean, with the 8-man roster, he'd be the projectile player. But if we were to pick up a 9th man that's projectile, right, then Super is free to go pretty much anywhere we need him. So it would probably be a situation of, okay, where do we feel the weakest, right? Come early next year, where do we feel like we're lacking? Where do we feel like someone's just not comfortable in their role in this current meta or whatever? And I think that's where we would say, hey, Super, train up on this, you know what I mean? Because you're going to be in 2 months from now, you're going to be in on this role, you know what I mean? Something like that. Okay. So that's kind of the vision I have for Super if we get a projectile player. If we don't, he's by far the best projectile player on the team right now. So it kind of depends on what we do with the 9th man on the roster.
This one's for the players. We'll start with BabyBay. I'm pretty sure I know who your answer is going to be. Who has the nastiest Widowmaker on the team?
That's me, dude. Hands down.
Now for
sure. Although Dak wants to 1v1 though, right, Dak?
Yeah.
Dak's we still got a 1v1 though. Dak's trying
I challenged you the other day. You chicken out.
I know what you're talking about.
Wait, you chickened out? Can we get this?
No.
Can we get this on stream, or can we get a recording of this?
Okay, yeah, we could do that. We could do something like that.
I'm done. Yeah.
So I guess I didn't think this was going to be the case, but Dak, who do you think has the nastiest Widowmaker on the team?
Yeah, probably BabyBay, but it's close.
And then the last question, I guess I could help answer this one, was why did we meme Zoms on the intro video? And I as far as I was told, he kind of came up with that idea. I don't know if you guys know the exact story about it, but it was between him and Dak, and they recorded some stuff, and they knew what it was going to be used for. So, and it had his approval on it, so it wasn't like a meme or anything like mean-hearted or anything, right? Do you guys have any insight?
It was originally him and Dante, I think, because we were asked to record some intro highlights video. So Dante asked songs, like I said, Sinatra has a private Discord with his friends, I don't want to leave his friends right now, but Soms is part of it, Dante's there too. So they're all really, really good friends. And he asked Soms to help him with the Sombra intro, and the Soms came with the idea. Apparently Soms came with the idea, hey, why don't you hack my Torbjorn intro? I'm playing Torb. Eventually we didn't go full meme apparently, but it wasn't like a Torbjorn intro, but it was Soms. It was just a funny thing they came up with,
Cool. So you can get off our back about that one as well. This is great, guys. Thank you so much for your time and helping out. I'm so stoked about this team as a huge fan of Overwatch. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun representing the Bay Area. It's a super fun area. We'll be up there doing plenty of events and appearances, but we just don't know what they're gonna be and what they're gonna look like yet. But we'd love to hear your guys' feedback on what you'd like to see out of these guys. Do you guys want to do pros versus Joes? I don't know what that would turn out. I don't know why you'd put yourself.
I'll be a Joe in that
scenario. Brad, any final words? Any last messages you want to get out to the San Francisco Overwatch fans?
Yeah, man, we are excited to be repping the Bay Area, and I think I do want to give a shout out. It's kind of it's a little cheesy, but to shout out to the new investors and to all the investors in the Overwatch League in general. As a former owner, I can appreciate sort of how much of a risk esports is despite its growth potential. You know what I mean? Sort of the business model is still being fleshed out. And I really appreciate and am thankful for people sort of willing to, buy into the dream that is esports right now, and specifically Overwatch esports. So big shout out to all the Overwatch League investors and especially the new investors in the San Francisco team.
Well, yeah,
So,
much
thanks,
love
guys.
to those investors, J-Lo, Strahan, Marshawn Lynch, and many others that behind the scenes. What did you guys think of that, BabyBay, of seeing like A-list J-Lo popping up on the screen and talking about Overwatch of all things to introduce you guys?
It's actually insane. I mean, honestly, like I don't even know like how to describe it. It's the coolest thing ever to me. Like you would never think, that celebrities like this, like Shaq, J Lo, Marshawn Lynch, and like everybody would even do something like this. So it's very cool to see. Hopefully, I get to meet them all. That would be even cool. That would like be done if that happened. But yeah, it's like something else. It's really cool.
I read a terrible article about that video we made on I don't even know, it was like Deadspin or something like that, or maybe it was Kotaku. But they ripped it to pieces like, oh, are they implying that J-Lo handpicked this team or that they play Overwatch? It's like, it's totally not even about that. It's not what we tried to portray whatsoever. It's just people being cynical. But I think it's incredible to see these big names bringing attention to esports. And if you're a fan of esports, that's what you want to see. We're not trying to promote it like they're playing it or that they're top 500 or anything. They're invested. They want to see it succeed, and the fact that they took time out of their schedules to do that was incredible. Dak, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, just even before coming into this call, we were watching a Rocket League stream, and we were like, why? It would be so cool if they had like a real soccer celebrity player on the casting table or whatever. It would have been like super cool to watch and listen to. So yeah, I just love the celebrities coming into this person supporting it.
All right, Dak, what are the last words you want to get out there to the San Francisco Overwatch fans?
Well, I expect a lot of aggression, bloodthirsty, good gameplay. We're going in for the win. That's it.
BabyBay?
I just wanted to thank San Fran and Brad for getting me this opportunity. My family for supporting me throughout all this stuff. All my fans, the Twitch subs. I got you guys. Thank you all. I love you guys. And shout out to my teammates, my new teammates. I love them all. I think they're great teammates and great friends now. And my old teammates too. Shout out to them for putting me in this spot. Without them, I don't think I would even be here. So shout out to my old teammates. Hopefully they find a home in OWL too. And I can't wait for BabyBay to be repping the Bay Area. Hey,
I didn't even put that together yet. The
BabyBay
area
in the Bay.
Oh man,
hey.
It writes itself.
It's lit.
God damn. All right. Well, thank you guys for checking out this video. We hope you enjoyed. I hope it gives you a little bit more insight into the thought process behind putting this monster of a team together. We appreciate any feedback you got. Go ahead, rip us in the comments if that's what you want to do. All the love. Follow these guys on Twitter. All the links will be down in the description below. But that's it. That's it for today. Take it easy, guys.